Good morning, and welcome to our next installment in the Divine Feminine series. And I'm just going to let Cassandra lead us off and introduce us to our new Divine Feminine, who has a very interesting story of where she started with water and having a name, and then the Romans came in and mixed it up a little bit. Go ahead, and I'll let Cassandra lead us into the history of what she was finding, and then we'll take turns sharing information on this divine feminine.
I love it. Hi, good morning. I'm Cassandra. I just dive into deep rabbit holes. So what I bring to the table is all of the academic and all of the historical things that other people might not find. But what I discovered about our goddess today, Sulis, is that she doesn't have an origin story that we can hold on to. And so we've dove into goddesses and biblical figures that all have a story that might have changed and altered over time. But this one, we kind of have to do a little bit of different digging, and it actually comes into archaeological digging to find out who she was. So we can assume that she was a Celtic goddess of healing wells and waterways, simply because of where her temple and where her location is. She's associated with the only natural occurring geothermal hot spring in Britain, located in what is now called Bath, England. And she was possibly, they think that she could have been associated with a sun goddess too, because her name and the fiery color and the warmth of the water, they both support what could have been associated with a sun goddess. She also held both healing and justice simultaneous roles. So both healing and justice coming from curses that they have found at her archaeological sites. So Sulis, her name is actually debated amongst literary and linguist scholars. The etymology of her name, we're just guessing at this point because we don't have any actual written accounts of what her name truly meant. But the evidence points to basically Old Irish sul, meaning eye or sight, so the all-seeing one, or the Proto-Celtic and Proto-Indo-European words for sun. So we built this temple around a healing spring, the only hot thermal spring that comes out in this area, and the Romans accrued it to Aquae Sulis, the waters of Sulis. So we can go back in time and kind of figure out her story based on what we archaeologically see. So in the first century BC, the pre-Roman Celtic worship, we've discovered coins from that time that were uncovered around the spring and dated early pre-Roman like time. And there's no record other than those coins of what Sulis represented for these people. But we do know that in 43 BC, or excuse me, 43 AD, Rome arrives in Britain and takes over. So that's where we go into combining worship sites, because oftentimes the Romans would take their goddess and they would infiltrate into whatever is around. But because they think that the cult of Sulis was so prominent in that area, they couldn't just erase her. They had to combine her. And so they chose Minerva. Minerva, their goddess of wisdom and curative properties. And they kind of combined Sulis Minerva that became one entity. So the Roman conquest, they encountered this spring. The goddess was already being worshipped. And in first century AD, roughly around 65 to 75 AD, they construct this large classical temple and bath complex around all of this sacred spring. They named the town Aquae Sulis, and Sulis was never demoted. She was fully absorbed into their pantheon. So she didn't lose who she was, but her origin story was somewhat erased. So we, again, have to kind of either make up our own story or just connect the dots to figure out what she did for people and how she represented people. But it was basically her following was too large. The complex was built and in full operation an entire around her. And people traveled across Britain, even from Germany, to visit her healing waters. Ordinary people were depositing curse tablets into her waters, asking for justice. So around about 3rd century AD, the only instance that we can find of Bath being mentioned in ancient texts is from Gaius Julius Solinus, a minor Roman, very minor Roman geographer. And he just writes that there's a temple to the goddess Sulis Minerva in Bath. And that's it. That's what we have in writing from there. But in around 391 AD, Christianity becomes the official state religion. And after that, at around 400 AD, Rome withdrew from Britain. So the temple started to fall into ruin after that. And in the 7th century AD, a monastery was built on top of the baths. So everything that we can find has already been found, and nothing else can be uncovered underneath this monastery and the cathedral that was built on top of it. So what we have discovered is 130 lead and pewter curse tablets from that spring, and 18 of them were pre-Roman era. And some of them have languages that we don't even know, because we don't have actual written accounts of some of the Celtic, Gaelish, and Welsh like writing. So we're guessing at what they might mean. So they're so old that we do know that they were praying to and trying to get assistance from Sulis. And in around 1988, they actually produced what's called the Tabulae Sulis. So it's an account of all of these tablets that they found. So, and then UNESCO entered all of these tablets into the Memory of the World UK Register, which has never happened with any other Roman site before. So it kind of elevates Sulis in a way, because she's the only one that's kind of been memorialized in our day now. So despite the fact that we don't have her origin story, we've carried her name through thousands of years. So I did want to read just a few of the tablets because they were so interesting in that what we hear of other divine feminine figures, we get from what the priests may have written, what the officials may have written about these figures. But what we get of Sulis is what the common people wrote down on tablets, put in her waters, and prayed for. So the first one is one of the most famous ones. It's Ananias, and it says, "Whether pagan or Christian, whosoever, whether man or woman, has stolen from me, Ananias, son of Matutina, 6 silver coins from my purse. You, lady goddess, are to exact them from him." So he's praying to get Sulis to restore his 6 cold gold coins. So he takes the time and says, "Hey, listen, this was stolen from me. I need help." So back in a time when you might not have had help from the authorities all across the world, then you found something that supposedly gave you justice. So that's an insight into what healing might have looked like for them as well, because if they're praying and then they're going to these healing waters for restoration, and then they're also taken advantage of at that point, then who do they go to for that justice and for that type of restoration? And the one of the other ones that kind of brought my attention was to Sulis, to the goddess Sulis Minerva. "I give to you your divinity and majesty, my bathing tunic and cloak. Do not allow sleep or health to him who has done me wrong, whether man or woman, or whether slave or free, unless he reveals himself and brings these goods to your temple." So it's his way of saying, I don't care who they are. Please bring me justice. Please bring me something. So the myth around her just evolves because we see what people wanted from her, what people went to her for, what kind of restoration they went to her for. So her story, though it has no origin, it's vast through thousands of years of people talking about her and people going to her. There's a lot of different sources that we can reference. The RSO Tomlin, the Tabulae Sulis, that does include all of those different tablets. But one thing I want to focus on is that this goddess actually gives permission for assistance. She gives us permission to go to someone, to go to her or to someone else and ask for assistance for restoration and for healing. That was something that kept revolving whenever I was doing my research on her, is that she's the one goddess that kind of says, hey, come to me. Like, hey, come to somebody when you don't have anyone else to come to, when the authorities can't help you, when people in your life can't help you. There is somewhere to go. And then the other thing that kind of kept revolving in my mind is that, does the origin actually matter for the impact to take effect? Like, does her story, the fact that we don't have her origin story, actually matter versus how much impact she had over thousands of years. The fact that we can still uncover how big she was at one time. We can still uncover different parts of her in the 1970s. We're still talking about her. So we still get impacted by this goddess who heals and transforms. And of course, we come from our goddess oracle deck. That's where we pull our little cards. And her poem talks about illness and wellness at the same time. So that duality, that justice, that healing, restoration, it is all one. Being ill, being well, it is all energy. Energy in constant motion, energy in constant flux. Restless energy that is never still. Ruthless energy that acts like a steamroller. Boundless energy that brings possibilities. Sparkling energy that tickles and sings. Stored energy that waits for release. The healing waters at my shrine regenerated, revitalized, brought clarity, mended holes, opened vision, allowed flow. With energy flowing, the dance of life resumes. Illness and wellness, all one, all energy, all flow. And to me, that was just learning about her and learning how much impact she had across thousands of years, despite the fact that we don't actually know what her story is. I found her to be really important. So Debbie, what did you happen to discover and find?
Well, when I first looked into her, I was like, okay, she doesn't have, we don't have, like you said, the origin story. When you look at many pantheons, you have like these were the original gods and these are their children. And in Egyptian, Roman, Greek, you see a storyline in a family tree, and we don't have that for her, right? And so, like you said, that doesn't matter, but it's just interesting that that got lost in her story, in her history. And so the Britons were worshiping her before the Romans ever showed up. And this is water that flowed for 2,000 years. Like it had just flowing and flowing. And so they saw her, like you said, as this source of water, this source of healing. And we have different descriptors where they talk about her as this eye or sight, like she is seeing it very clearly. And so, yes, people were coming to her. People were coming to her with grievances. I love that these tablets, like you said, this is not somebody else sharing her story or manipulating her story. It is just factual people who actually lived what they came to her and said, I need your help with this injustice, this betrayal, this health issue, whatever it was, they went to her. And so she was like this person you would go to because she could heal your wounds, restore what you needed, and to be fully seen. Again, the eye, the seeing eye, like you just went to her, she fully saw her, you came to her very openly and shared what you needed. So I thought that was very interesting um, to see how people came to her in everyday ways. And we have a lot of stories and people who continue on, like with Greek goddesses and in their homes and having altars for them. But this space and place was very special. Now, the Romans come in and they add the name Minerva. And it's very interesting because when I went to Guadalajara, Mexico, there is this huge statue of a goddess in one of their big circles, and it is Minerva.
Mm,
And I went and I thought she looks very powerful and all this. So when I saw that this became Sulis Minerva, I was like, oh, I've seen a statue of Minerva. So this kind of melding in, but like they could not eliminate her. Like
exactly.
she was ingrained in the culture. And this makes me think of Brigid when we talked about Brigid, how she was so also ingrained that when Christianity came about, they're like,
Yes.
we're just going to make her a saint. And we're just going to, that way the people can continue to do what they do, but they can do it under the context of Catholicism, Christianity, right?
Mhm.
So, but she just was very powerful. So what is her story? We take it from the small historical pieces, the tablets, and I see this very prominent person that was very accessible to the people, right? She was not, it's not like you had to go to a priest and make a sacrifice or do this, or she just, you came to her, you gave your grievance. There's this direct connection that I really love. And her to see you fully, her to restore. Like I feel water, like healing waters, restorative waters. I see all those things, right? And they're warm, thermal waters. So that whole warmth and comfort. And so people would go to her with wanting that warmth and comfort and restoration. And so what's her message? I'm thinking, what is her message to me here? Now that I've discovered her, what would her message to be to me? And I think to me, she would say, I'm only asking you to come to me and be just completely honest. Just come to me in complete honesty and full transparency. You don't have to postulate to me. You don't have to do like just come to me and give me your honesty of what you need. Bring me what burns you. Bring me what angers you've swallowed. Like maybe other people aren't going to listen to you or help you, but you can come to me with those burdens. Come to me with your wounds. Come to me with the wounds that you keep dressing. Like, let me take some of that on for you, and I will quietly help restore you. And let's meet at the water, and don't let it be buried within you alone. Like, water is purification, right? Water is healing, water is all those things. And she says, I don't turn away from what is unhealed. And maybe people didn't feel like they had a place to process their anger and their frustration. So
Mhm.
they could go to her and be like, this is the things that are unhealed. I am still carrying anger. This person did me wrong. This person betrayed me. This person stole from me. I'm still carrying pain and anger. Why am I sick? Why am I unhealthy? I need you to help restore me. And so she was this goddess of very easy, accessible peace. Like, I'm going to hand this to you, and then that's a burden lifted off of me. So I think her message is, like you said, whether you're going to her or somebody else, or don't let yourself carry every burden, right? You don't have to carry the weight of all you've lived. And so many times, in even my own work as a life coach, a spiritual guide, a healer, there are people who come to me and say, I just need someone to hear my story. I
Mm.
just need to be witnessed. And I feel like she was there to witness to what they needed to share of their story. There was nobody to witness them, and they wanted it to be witnessed by her. And I get this from people. They're like, I just wanted to come and meet with you and tell you my story. And and I want to be heard, and I want to be understood. And I think that's a big thing. And so I
That's so
see why how powerful and how important she was in that time and in that space and continuing on. And so I think she's like the goddess of, like, to me, she's saying, I am the goddess of, like, whatever is rising up in you, just let it rise up and then pass it over. Like, pull it up
powerful.
and hand it off. And not hand it off in a way like just hand it off and I've got you, but like, I think sometimes we carry heavy things, and the second we speak it, we are released, not completely from it, not maybe all the trauma of it, but sometimes just speaking our truth and sharing our story is like a burden lifted off of us that we've carried. So she says, come to me to be seen, come to be smoothed, come to me to be healed, come to me to be witnessed, and I'm going to meet you exactly there. And that's
Yes.
the message I took away from her and the tablets and what people wrote. And I'm like, oh, I see her. She is that accessible goddess. She is that person who's like, just let it come up and out and let me hear it and let me carry it and let me be there for you. And I do see it all. And I know, but for them to write it, I mean, they just didn't speak it. Like, they didn't go to a temple and
Right.
speak it. Like, they
They
are,
carved it.
they carved it. Like, they took some time, right?
Wait, this
Carving
isn't
was
texting.
this wasn't a quick little thing. And so she asked them to come and be witnessed. And that's the thing I really took away from her. And unlike many other deities in the Roman pantheon, right? Because Rome came in and kind of integrated her in, like, I don't have to worry about like some huge myth cycle or some huge way. Like, she's just like, come direct. Like, it's not like they had built a temple for her, but it was a temple to come and be witnessed. I feel that's what I feel like
Hmm.
from her, not a temple that you had to postulate and do certain things a certain way. And from her altars and tablets and all these things, it's just she was this accessible person.
Yeah.
She wasn't separate. She wasn't, I don't know, she just seemed so available and there, ready, willing, and wanting to be there for the healing, for the restoration, whatever that may be.
And that's a good point to make too, is a lot of the other ones that we've talked about, a priest is required, or someone else was required to give the rights or to give the information for how to give homage to them. But you're right, you just went straight to her. There was no block, there's nothing that stood in the way of restoration of some sort.
Right. And that's
So,
not to say that back in the day, they may have had more ways of worshiping her that didn't get carried
yeah,
on, but maybe they didn't get carried on because they aren't the point of what she's truly about, right? And people may have come and brought flowers or brought sacrifices or
they left
whatever,
their cloak.
left their cloak, right? But I mean, but what has carried on, what we're getting, I feel, is the truest sense of who she was. And again, I just keep getting this. I am accessible. I am right here. I'm available and I'm here to
Mhm.
witness you. And I do see it all. And our wounds and wisdom can rise from the same source, right? Our wounds and wisdom can come from the same space. And she's here to say that. Let me take the wounds, let me take what needs to be repaired, and then let's rise in the wisdom. And that being seen, fully seen part, I can't stress how important that is. I cannot stress how many people have said, I just wanted someone to hear my story. I just wanted someone to witness my experience. And even in like healing the mother wound course, inner child healing, I think people come in feeling very much like this is just my own burden. And yes, some people have had trauma, but then you are in a group with six other people sharing your stories, and you're like, I feel seen, heard, and understood. And sometimes it's the first time people felt open to share parts that they never shared before. And they hear somebody else share, and they're like, oh, and then this came up for them. And this witnessing, she witnessed these people. They came to her feeling very safe to be witnessed. And I love it. Healing waters. I see you. We're going to heal this. I'm going to restore you. And that felt really good to me. I love that. I just thought
Yeah,
this is cool. I love, and I don't need to know her origin. I don't need to know who her
right.
parents were. And I don't need to know this whole, she
Her
just,
story.
yeah, I think the core of who she is what we have today. And those tablets, especially, I think are so eye-opening to what she meant to the people and what they brought to her, right? And it's not like bring protection over my home, though they may have asked for that, or, I'm going to have
Hmm.
an altar for you here so that my home has peace. It's like, no, I'm going to come to you with all the burdens I carry, with the things I need, and you're here to help me with that. And I love it. Yeah.
I love that too. And there's like twofold from that. So the idea that we can go to other people and share ourselves and it be okay. We can open up our wounds and let other people see them and it also be okay. But then also that we can receive assistance. So we can receive some healing. I mean, they went to these waters for a reason. They went to this specific spot because they believed that they would receive some sort of restoration for their wounds and for their their struggles.
Right.
So it's almost like, yes, the origin story, it doesn't necessarily matter, but the end of the story does. So we go here, it doesn't matter what our wounds look like, we can still be made whole without having to know the rest of the story. We can still get restoration and healing without having to completely dive into and staying in the wound. So that part kind of hit me too, is these some of these people that, his one of the stories was about his shoes being stolen. So he wanted the sight of the other person to be taken. That might not have happened. There's a very real chance that he never actually got true justice, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't healed from what his wound was. So we can still get the healing despite the fact that we don't necessarily feel like we've gotten justice for our wound too. So there's different avenues to that healing approach. And it's like you said, that accessibility. I mean, we have water everywhere. So what they believe is that she wasn't just accessible at this temple and at these baths, was that she was also accessible in all of the waterways throughout Britain, that she was been giving homage and that she was talked to anytime someone visited a stream. Just being a part of Earth gave you access to her. So that part was important to me too, is that yes, you're right, she's accessible, but so is healing and restoration. Like that healing and restoration is accessible to all of us without someone standing in the way and giving us permission to get healing. So we can find, well, like you said, our people, we can find someone to witness us, and we can find people that share in our community, like your mother wound class. Having other people there adds to that healing and adds to being able to become someone different and someone on the other side of trauma and on the other side of our struggles. And because to me, sometimes I've even gotten stuck in my own struggles. Like in the past, I was so worried about the story itself that I didn't focus on the healing after the story, on what could come next after that story. And so when I was reading her lack of story, that's what came to my mind, was maybe the story doesn't always matter as much as what happens after.
Very
So,
true. Very true. So, so I think this is a great person to have delved into. I really had never heard of her. I had heard of Minerva because, like I said, but that's the Romans brought the Minerva in to kind of integrate that because they couldn't lose this so deeply embedded goddess that they had, deity. And so I was like, oh, this is so interesting to me. And then like you said, the more I learned about her and these tablets and what people brought to her, I thought, this is like everyday grievances being witnessed, healing, seen, and I think it's a great story. So I really enjoyed learning about her. Um, Obviously there's coins they had, and people may have made, give it, they thought if I give some of her coins, and they, I'm not saying they never made offerings, but they really came to her, whether they had it or not. They came to her with their, to be witness, to share their grievances, and for them to be seen, them to be restored. So I've enjoyed this story very much. And I think she's kind of a cool character. I really do. And I'm like, okay, there's not this history, but I'm enjoying what her story, the key of her story. Like it's so pure of like what they needed, and that's the focus, not the whole other mythology or family tree, or where she came from. So thank you for all the history you shared of her, of what you found, and all the same things that I found, and I really enjoyed her. So who will be our next goddess or
oh,
divine feminine?
divine feminine deity, goddess figure. I mean, I remember telling you when I first looked at this deck, it was Sophia that pulled out to me first, and I thought, didn't know that she was a deity until we dove in. Oh, we've see, I pulled Hestia, which who we have already done. We've done the hearth and home. So next we can do Artemis.
Oh, Artemis.
Artemis, and her tagline is sisterhood.
Love that.
Mm.
Love
This
that.
will be exciting to dive in back into the Greek pantheon again too.
Yes. All right. Does anybody have any other thoughts or questions that you want to ask of me or Cassandra before we jump off? And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to comment, we'll respond to any commentary if you have any questions. I think we pretty fully covered her today. But Artemis is going to be next month. So I hope you join us, either live here on the Zoom or on a replay on YouTube. But thank you, Cassandra, always, and thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.
And I think the big message is Don't be afraid to tell your story. Don't be afraid to be
Mm,
witnessed. You don't have to tell your story to everybody, but find that one person that you feel most safe with to be seen and to be witnessed and to share your story, because that alone is the beginning of a huge healing and a weight lifted. All right, you all.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Cassandra. Have a great rest of your
Thanks,
Thank
day,
you.
everyone.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.